They say it's normal after 60. The aching joints, the trembling hands, the legs that feel like sandbags. But what if I told you that by the time you feel those signs, your body has already lost over 30% of its natural collagen, and it's not just disappearing. It's being stolen quietly, slowly, from the inside out, your strength. Your balance, even your handwriting, are all slipping through your fingers one silent fiber at a time. Have you ever stood at the top of the stairs and suddenly questioned whether your knees would hold or rubbed your fingers, hoping the tingling would fade, but it never does? If so, you're not alone. And it's not just aging. There's something happening inside your body. And today, we're pulling back the curtain. Because 8 powerful foods, yes, simple vegetables, could be the key to rebuilding everything you thought you lost. One of them is probably already in your fridge. Another might be the missing piece to your morning stiffness. But before we begin, can you feel it more in your hands or in your legs? We're reading every story you share. Let's go to where the silence started and where healing might begin. Linda used to love her morning walks, the mist rolling over the Oregon hills, the rhythm of her steps. But lately, her legs don't trust her anymore. They wobble when she stands. Her hands fumble over buttons that used to be second nature, and something as simple as opening a jar feels like wrestling with time itself. She didn't fall, she didn't get injured, yet every day something inside feels a little weaker. Her doctor said, "It's just part of aging." But Linda knew something deeper was wrong. She started digging. Reading, watching, and asking questions most people avoid, and that's when she discovered the thief inside her body: collagen. Not a word we use every day, but it's the scaffolding of your strength, the glue that holds your joints, muscles, skin, even nerves together. And after 60, it begins to vanish. Silently, cruelly, predictably. By 65, your body has already lost up to 35%, which means those aches, the stumbles, the nighttime tingles aren't random. They're symptoms of a deeper unraveling. You're not falling apart from age. You're falling apart because the structure holding you is disappearing. Linda wasn't ready to accept that, and you shouldn't either. Because collagen loss isn't a life sentence. It's a signal, a whisper from within, telling you it's time to rebuild. And not with pills or injections, but with something far more powerful. Food, real food, from the earth, vegetables that speak the language of your cells. The journey we're about to take isn't just about eating better. It's about reclaiming what's yours: mobility, confidence, independence. Because if your body is a home, then collagen is the frame, and it's time to start renovating. Let's begin not with medicine, but with the first piece of the puzzle already waiting in your kitchen. Linda didn't know what collagen was until it was gone. And she's not alone. Most people over 60 have never heard of it, yet they feel its absence every single day. That slow morning when your knees won't bend without a groan, the moment your hand tingles while holding the steering wheel, the fatigue in your legs after just one flight of stairs. These aren't just signs of aging. They're signs of something missing: collagen, the most abundant protein in your body. But here's the catch: your body can't make collagen on demand. It needs building blocks, nutrients, circulation, and after 60, it struggles with all three. The fibroblasts that once worked like tireless carpenters now sit quietly, waiting for tools they no longer receive. You eat your meals, but do your cells get the message, or are they left hungry? Watching your strength slip away, collagen is not just skin deep, it's in your bones, tendons, ligaments. It hugs your joints, insulates your nerves, even the bounce in your step at the grip of your handshake. That's collagen, but here's what most people don't know. Collagen isn't the hero, it's the product, the result of a deeper orchestra inside your body. An orchestra that includes enzymes, antioxidants, minerals, and the very food you eat. You could be eating protein daily, but if your body lacks the cofactors to turn it into collagen, it's like having bricks without mortar. Linda started noticing the cracks. Her wrists ached after slicing vegetables. Her fingers burned after folding laundry. She thought she needed rest, but what she needed was repair. And so she asked a question you might be asking now. What if I could feed my body exactly what it needs to build itself back? That question changed everything. Because the answer wasn't hidden in a lab, it was in her fridge. 8 vegetables, each one a missing note in your collagen symphony. Some ignite production, others protect existing fibers. A few even repair nerve sheaths and joint linings. You don't need all of them at once, but you need to start somewhere. And that's what Linda did, one vegetable at a time, one meal at a time, and the first step she took was red, crisp, and surprisingly powerful. Let's open that fridge together. And meet the quiet warrior behind your first real repair, the one hiding in plain sight. It sat on Linda's top fridge shelf for weeks, red, shiny, untouched. She thought of it as decoration, not medicine, but that red bell pepper was about to become her first line of defense. You see, collagen doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's built from amino acids, but those acids need activation, and nothing activates them like vitamin C, not a capsule, not a powder, but raw, vibrant, living vitamin C, just like the kind packed inside red bell peppers. Half a cup gives you more than 150% of your daily vitamin C needs, and that's not just a number, that's a switch. A literal enzyme trigger that tells your body, it's time to build, time to bind, time to restore. Linda didn't know this the day she added red peppers to her salad, but her body did. Her fibroblasts, long dormant, began waking up. The stiffness in her fingers eased slightly after a week. The aching in her wrists no longer screamed by noon. Why? Because vitamin C doesn't just build collagen, it shields it. It wraps around the fibers like armor, protecting them from the slow burn of inflammation and the micro tears that come from decades of use. But red peppers bring more than just one weapon. They contain capsaicinoids, antioxidants that fight oxidative stress, the silent saboteur of your joints and nerves, and that matters because oxidative stress is like rust on the inside. It eats away at the smooth glide between your joints. It frays the insulation around your nerves. Linda felt that rust in her knees, her elbows, her grip, but with every colorful slice of red pepper. She gave her body a dose of resilience. She didn't sauté them into oblivion. She learned to eat them raw, with hummus, in salads, or added just before turning off the heat in a stir-fry. And day by day, the little things became easier. Lifting a pan, holding a book, opening the front door, all because one vegetable held the power to switch her body back on. And maybe it's not just Linda. Maybe that pepper in your fridge isn't just for garnish. Maybe it's your first yes to strength. If your hands feel clumsy or your knees whisper with every step, consider this a quiet invitation. Start with the red, because the next vegetable in Linda's story is softer, greener, but no less fierce. It looked ordinary, just a handful of green leaves in a grocery bag, but when Linda brought home that spinach, she had no idea she was holding a shield. Not the kind you see, but the kind your nerves feel. Spinach is soft, but inside it's an army built on synergy. Because spinach doesn't fight with just one sword. It brings many. Vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene. That's what signals your body to make more collagen. It tells your fibroblasts to get to work, to start weaving, to start strengthening. And then comes lutein, not just for your eyes, but for your tissues. It soothes, detoxifies, and removes the silent inflammation that eats away at your joints and nerves. Linda didn't know any of that when she added spinach to her eggs, but she knew one thing: her hands weren't burning like before, and her feet didn't throb in the mornings. She had energy, not the buzz of caffeine, but the quiet steadiness of circulation returning. That's the chlorophyll, the natural green that helps bring oxygen to her tissues. And then there's magnesium. Spinach is full of it, and over 60% of older adults are deficient. Without magnesium, your muscles cramp, your hands tingle, and your nerves misfire. Linda used to think her body was betraying her, but now she understood. It was starving, not for calories, but for direction. Spinach gave her that, one bowl at a time, and science backed her up. A 2018 study showed older adults who consumed magnesium-rich greens had stronger joints, fewer nerve flare-ups, and better resilience overall. It wasn't a miracle. It was mineral logic. Her pain wasn't a punishment. It was a request for nutrients her body could finally use. Spinach didn't erase all her discomfort, but it softened it. She started sleeping better, waking up without that heavy numbness in her calves. That's what better blood flow does, because spinach contains nitrates. And nitrates become nitric oxide, which opens your vessels, feeds your tissues, and brings life back to limbs that once felt forgotten. Linda wasn't cured, but she was climbing stairs again, without dread, without pain, without holding the rail like it was a lifeline. She didn't feel fragile, she felt capable. So if your knees sigh every time you stand, if your fingers fumble for keys you used to find without looking, spinach might be more than a vegetable. It might be your nerve's best friend, and when something that soft can bring that much strength, you know the healing has truly begun. Have you felt that whisper of change too? If spinach has ever made a difference in your routine, or if you're ready to try it now, leave a comment. You never know who you might inspire. Because next, Linda met a vegetable she almost never touched before, but once she did, her mornings changed forever. It was slimy, slippery. Something Linda used to skip right past in the produce aisle, okra. She didn't grow up eating it, didn't know what to do with it, and honestly, it made her uncomfortable. But then she read something. That okra, the strange, sticky pod, wasn't just food, it was lubrication, for her joints, for her tendons, for the very spaces in her body that had gone dry and brittle with time. That stickiness inside okra, it's called mucilage, and it mimics the synovial fluid your joints used to make with ease. When you were younger, your joints glided. Now, every step sounds like a complaint. Every grip feels like a gamble. But mucilage doesn't just coat. It nourishes, it wraps your joints in a soft shield, and gives your cartilage a fighting chance. Inside okra are also compounds like pectin and rhamnogalaxyronin. They sound complicated, but their job is simple: to wake up collagen. They tell your cells it's time to rebuild. Not just patch up, but restore. Linda was skeptical. But she was also tired of the stiffness that greeted her every morning, so she made a soup, tossed in sliced okra, let it simmer, and waited. After 2 weeks, her fingers moved with less resistance. Her knees didn't bark when she stepped out of bed. Was it magic? No. It was manganese, and vitamin K, and flavonoids. Okra is rich in all of them. And these aren't just names on a label. They are builders, cofactors, chemical partners that allow collagen to be made, shaped, and protected. Without them, it doesn't matter how much protein you eat. Collagen won't form. Linda had been eating well for years, but she was missing the spark. Okra gave her that spark. It also gave her quercetin, a powerful antioxidant that shields nerves from oxidative damage. That's crucial, because nerve pain, tingling, that strange burning in your calves, isn't always about nerves alone. It's about the collagen scaffolding around them falling apart. Okra supports both. The structure and the signal, the sheath and the spark. Linda didn't fall in love with the taste, but she fell in love with what it gave her: a sense of ease, the kind you forget you ever had, until it comes back, if your fingers lock, if your knees grind, if your mornings begin with stiffness instead of sunlight. Maybe it's time to give okra a second look, not for flavor, but for function, because next in Linda's story was a green she thought she knew, but never truly understood, until her body began to thank her. With every silent, painless step. Broccoli had always been there, on her plate, next to salmon under cheese sauce in potlucks. But Linda never knew it was working behind the scenes, quietly, steadily, rebuilding her from within. The day she took broccoli seriously was the day she learned about sulforaphane, a mouthful of a word. But a miracle for your joints, sulforaphane is broccoli's secret weapon. It flips on genes, the ones responsible for detox, repair, and collagen protection. When Linda started eating broccoli steamed and simple, her knees didn't pop as much. Her ankles didn't catch halfway through the day. It wasn't overnight, but it was consistent. Because sulforaphane doesn't just stop inflammation. It protects your fibroblasts, the very cells that make your collagen matrix. And when those cells are safe, they build, they thicken, they restore. But broccoli doesn't stop there. It's rich in vitamin C, vitamin K, calcium, glucosinolates. Each of these a thread in the net that holds your joints together. They don't just make collagen, they defend it. Linda noticed something subtle, her grip came back. The jar lids didn't fight her. The doorknobs didn't win. She could kneel in the garden without bracing herself. That was new. And all of this, from a green she'd been ignoring for decades. But the real turning point came when she read about oxidative stress. How free radicals were fraying her nerves. How her cartilage was being eroded like shoreline by waves. And how the antioxidants in broccoli were her first defense. They surrounded her nerves with calm, protected her joints with consistency. Linda began roasting broccoli with olive oil, tossing it with lemon juice, adding it to soups, pastas, even her breakfast scramble. And with every bite, her body remembered something. It remembered what it was like to move without hesitation, to stand without stiffness, to trust itself. Broccoli even helped stabilize her blood sugar, and that mattered, because high glucose leads to glycation, a process that hardens your collagen and ages your tissues. So eating broccoli didn't just help her joints, it protected them from what was coming, from what aging tries to sneak in quietly. Linda was winning small battles, and those added up. If your fingers feel numb, if your knees crackle when you rise, don't overlook what's green, don't underestimate what's common. Broccoli may be familiar, but inside it is the quiet genius of repair, because next came a color, a root, and a rush of blood her body hadn't felt in years. Linda never liked beets, too earthy, too red, too weird on the tongue, but when her legs started feeling heavy, when they tingled every time she stood still, she knew this wasn't just fatigue, it was circulation. Or more precisely, a lack of it. Beets weren't just vegetables now, they were vessels. Inside them, nitrates, natural compounds that the body turns into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, it's what opens your blood vessels like floodgates, letting oxygen, nutrients, and collagen-building blocks reach your joints, muscles, and nerves. When Linda drank beet juice for the first time, she wasn't expecting magic. But 3 days in, she walked farther. Her calves didn't cramp. Her toes didn't go cold after sitting. That wasn't in her head, it was in her blood. A study in 2019 showed that seniors who consumed beets daily saw increased lower limb blood flow, better walking endurance, and stronger muscle activation. That's because blood is delivery, and without it, nothing heals. Collagen can't form if nutrients can't arrive. If your tissues are starved, your body is stalled. Beets sent a signal, not just to her heart, but to her fingertips, that warmth in her hands. That steady pulse in her ankles, that was healing, circulating. But it wasn't just nitrates. Beets are packed with beta-cyanin, a pigment that doesn't just give them color. It fights oxidative stress, which means fewer free radicals attacking your joints, less erosion in your cartilage, and more time doing what you love without pain. Linda began roasting them, grating them raw into salads, blending them with citrus to boost their power. Because citrus doesn't just add flavor, it enhances nitrate absorption, which means faster results, deeper healing. She even added folate to the list, another compound found in beets. Folate keeps homocysteine levels low. And when that's in check, your collagen stays safer, your joints feel smoother, your recovery speeds up. For Linda, the difference was simple. Her legs didn't feel like anchors anymore. Her walks weren't shortened by fear. Her balance, her stride, her energy, they came back. And it wasn't from a supplement or a surgery. It was from a root that reminded her blood where to go. If your feet go numb at night, if your legs feel older than the rest of you, beets might not be your favorite, but they could be your fix. Because once the blood starts flowing, healing isn't far behind. And for Linda, that healing led her straight to the sea. to a vegetable stranger than any she'd met, but more powerful than she could have imagined. It was dark, dry, and smelled faintly of the ocean's seaweed. Linda stared at the tiny nari sheets in her hand. Could something so strange, so thin really make a difference? The science said yes. Because while collagen is made from protein and vitamin C, that's not enough. You need minerals, the quiet supporters, the activators, copper, manganese, zinc, and seaweed holds them all, not in synthetic, hard-to-digest forms, but in bioavailable formats your body understands. Like a language it once knew but forgot. Linda added it to her miso soupy sprinkled flakes into her salads. And something changed. The stiffness in her fingers eased, the burning in her calves at night faded, because inside that seaweed was more than minerals. There was fucodin, a marine compound that stimulates fibroblasts and tells them, wake up, it's time to rebuild. Studies show that fucodin increases collagen synthesis, reduces joint inflammation, and even supports nerve regeneration. For Linda, this wasn't just about joints, it was about balance, coordination. She felt more stable stepping off curbs, more sure-footed walking through the grocery store, and then she understood. Seaweed didn't just rebuild collagen. It protected the scaffolding around her nerves, preventing the kind of deterioration that causes numbness, burning, and weakness. It also brought iodine, essential for thyroid function. And why does that matter? Because your thyroid regulates tissue repair speed, your metabolism, your body's ability to bounce back. When it's slow, everything slows, including healing. But with seaweed, Linda felt warmth in her hands again, color in her cheeks, energy that didn't crash by mid-afternoon. And let's not forget glutathione, your master antioxidant. Seaweed boosts it, which means faster detox, less inflammation, and more collagen preservation. Linda started small, just a few servings a week, and her body noticed. The results weren't dramatic, but they were deep. Her skin looked brighter, her knees felt less brittle, and her recovery after walking quicker. So if seaweed sounds foreign or feels too far from your routine, remember this. It's not just a sea plant. It's scaffolding, it's signal, it's speed, and just when Linda thought the journey couldn't go any deeper, she discovered two final vegetables, more common than she expected, but more powerful than she ever imagined. Asparagus had always felt fancy served on holiday platters, drizzled in butter. But to Linda, it was never more than a side dish, until her hands started trembling when pouring coffee, until her hips ached after short walks, until her skin lost its bounce. And that's when asparagus became something else, a signal, a solution, because inside these slender green stalks was glutathione, your body's master antioxidant. The shield that stands between your collagen and its enemies, oxidative stress, inflammation, time itself. Linda didn't know it, but she was running low, and without glutathione, the collagen she tried so hard to build was breaking down faster than it formed. But asparagus wasn't just a protector, it was a repairman, full of vitamin K. It helped guide calcium back to where it belonged, your bones, because when calcium ends up in the wrong places, like joints or arteries, it creates stiffness, compression, pain. Linda had felt that stiffness especially in her lower back, but now her mornings started without that creaking sound, without that hesitation before standing. Why? Because vitamin K and folate work together. Folate helped her cells divide, helped her tissues regenerate, helped her collagen thicken and hold, and that meant fewer micro-tears, faster healing after activity, stronger tissue resilience. But it didn't stop there. Asparagus also fed her gut, with prebiotic fiber that fueled her microbiome, and when your gut is healthy, your nutrient absorption skyrockets. Vitamin C, magnesium, zinc, all the puzzle pieces of collagen, suddenly arrived on time. Linda steamed it gently, tossed it with olive oil and garlic, ate it 3 times a week, and every time she did, her energy didn't just rise, it steadied. She no longer felt the crash at 2 p.m., her arms stopped tingling when stretched, her posture returned. Asparagus wasn't just cleaning her system, it was reinforcing it. It gave her structure where she had weakness, smoothness where she had friction, and most importantly, it gave her back something she hadn't felt in years: confidence. Because when your joints move easily, when your grip is sure, when your nerves don't buzz at night, you sleep better, stand taller, move freer, and Linda knew she was almost there. Just one more green to go, one more unlikely hero. That had been hiding in her herb drawer all along, waiting to deliver the final touch her body was craving. It was small, curly, something she used to brush aside, a garnish on the edge of a plate, forgotten after the meal. But parsley was never just a decoration. Linda only realized that when she started chopping it into her eggs, blending it into her smoothies, sprinkling it generously over roasted vegetables, because parsley is pure power in green. Just one handful delivers more vitamin C than an orange, and vitamin C is not optional for collagen, it's essential. Without it, the process halts. The fibers fray, the structure softens, but with it, your body starts to bind again, to rebuild. Linda's hands no longer ached from tying her shoes, her legs felt firm, not fragile, and parsley wasn't just building, it was defending. Inside this humble herb is a pygenin, a plant flavonoid that calms the chaos. It soothes inflamed fibroblasts, it reduces joint degradation. It even protects nerve endings from oxidative fire. For someone living with chronic inflammation, that's not just nice to have, it's non-negotiable. Parsley also raised her glutathione, her body's internal cleanup crew, which means toxins that used to linger in her tissues now had an exit. And that exit meant better skin tone, stronger cartilage, faster muscle recovery. But there was more. Parsley brought chlorophyll, which helped oxygen flow into tight corners, to ligaments, joints, even tiny nerve capillaries in her hands. That oxygen was life. It's what brought color back to her fingers, elasticity back to her knees, ease back to her movement. Linda didn't eat it once and forget. She made it daily. It became her ritual, her quiet anchor, because she knew, at this stage in life, you don't need more meds, you need more nature. And parsley was her reminder that healing doesn't have to be loud. It can be leafy, fresh, and gentle. Now when she opens her fridge, she smiles at that little bunch, no longer overlooked, because it's not garnish, it's medicine. And with that final green, Linda's journey came full circle, not to where she was at 30, but to a new kind of strength, a calm, steady resilience that let her move, lift, bend, and live without fear, without hesitation. Because collagen isn't youth, it's foundation. And thanks to 8 vegetables, 1 decision, and her own persistence, Linda rebuilt hers, one bite at a time.